Never imagined that one day my own son would be embarrassed by my presence. Not angry, not hateful, just quietly ashamed. That night, he stood in front of me, rubbing his hands together, unable to look me in the eyes. His voice was soft, almost apologetic when he spoke. "Mom, it's just for one night. Could you sleep in the garage?" The garage. Cold, dark, filled with old boxes and forgotten things. I was 62 years old. I had raised him alone after his father died. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, and sold my wedding ring so he could afford college textbooks. And now I was being asked to sleep in the garage. I smiled, nodded gently, and said yes. What I didn't tell him was that this single night would change his life forever. My name is Evelyn Carter. There was a time when this house belonged to me. Every wall, every door, every memory. My husband and I bought it more than 3 decades ago in a quiet American neighborhood. After he died, suddenly from a heart attack, the house fell silent. It was just me and my son, Daniel. I worked days as an administrative assistant and cleaned offices at night. I never complained. Daniel was my reason for everything. When Daniel was accepted into college, I cried alone in the kitchen, not from fear, but from pride. Years later, when he got married, I transferred the house into his name. He hesitated and asked if I was sure. I told him a mother doesn't need ownership. She needs her child to succeed. At the time, it felt like love. Looking back, it was the first crack. After Daniel married Rachel, the atmosphere in the house slowly changed. At first, she was polite, distant, always busy on her phone. Over time, small things disappeared. My chair at the dining table, my space in the living room. Eventually, even my bedroom became storage. I said nothing. I didn't want to cause tension in my son's marriage. One evening, Rachel whispered something to Daniel while glancing at me. His face tightened. That night, he knocked on my door and said his coworkers were visiting the next day and that it might feel awkward to have me around. That's when he asked me to sleep in the garage for just one night. Rachel handed me a thin blanket without meeting my eyes and pointed to a spot beside old paint cans and broken furniture, saying there was a heater and it wouldn't be that bad. I nodded and stepped inside. I wasn't angry. I was deeply disappointed. As the night passed, the heater stopped working. The cold crept into my bones as I sat on an old wooden chair. The garage smelled of dust and oil. I replayed every sacrifice, every moment of love I had poured into raising my son. Somewhere after midnight, I made a decision. There was something Daniel never knew. After my husband died, I invested part of his life insurance money in land. Not flashy stocks, but overlooked plots in ignored areas. Over time, those places became shopping centers, medical offices, and parking complexes. I never touched the income. I lived simply. Money was never power to me. Silence was. In the morning, Rachel opened the garage door and froze. I was already awake, neatly dressed, sipping coffee from my thermos. She asked if I really slept there. I smiled and said I slept just fine. Daniel avoided my eyes. As they left for work, I calmly told them I would be gone by nightfall. They didn't stop me. They didn't ask where I was going. 2 days later, Daniel received a registered letter. Inside were legal documents, property records, and bank confirmations, along with a short, handwritten note. I wrote that he asked me to sleep in the garage because he forgot who built the foundation beneath his life. I reminded him I didn't raise him to humiliate others or to accept humiliation. I hoped one cold night would teach him warmth. That evening, Daniel came to my apartment with tears in his eyes. Rachel followed behind him, silent. He knelt in front of me and said he didn't know and that he should have protected me. I helped him up and told him this was never about money. It was about respect. Rachel tried to speak, but I gently stopped her. Some lessons, I said, are only learned when comfort is taken away. I didn't take the house back. I didn't punish them financially. I moved out permanently. I used my resources to fund a community shelter for elderly women with nowhere to go. And every year on the anniversary of that night, my son volunteers there. He doesn't speak much. He just works quietly, humbly. That night in the garage didn't break me. It reminded me who I was. A mother, a woman, and someone who never needed a bedroom to know her worth.